established now that actually culture, as we've evolved it over the last 150 years, has actually caused the troubles that we're actually in at the moment. It's challenged us to say, well, okay, if we carry on the way we are with the culture and the value systems and the economic systems and the social systems that we have in place, they're not sustainable. We've got to move the culture from this place to this place. And in a way that, for me, that is a really exciting challenge. And it's got to happen fairly relatively quickly. How that comes about is the most imprecise science out. I mean, I know, there are a load of logical systems that are in place to achieve that, but you're actually saying, well, wait a minute, it is something quite amorphous that you actually kind of go, woof, let's move it over to there. And how do you do that? So for 10 years, we've been throwing the creative artistic voice at this. And what you're going to see this afternoon is just a little bit of that challenge. Why is it important? Well, how we achieve it. First of all, we've had 9 expeditions up to the Arctic. We've embedded all of the artists in a way with the scientists who are working, in the field. It's not scientists working in labs. These are scientists, oceanographers, geologists who are all working in the field trying to find out, the speed of change. So we embed the artists with the scientists, so therefore we are science-led in that sense. And then from that, the outcome, we just let rail and see where the artists want to pick up the messaging. Now, I think there's probably 115 artists have been through the program. We can only showcase about 5 or 6 people today, but you can just see from that amplified message what it would be like. Why the Arctic? Well, you all know this information. The ice cap, was predicted to last for 70, 80 years in the summer months. At the moment, well, this is 2008, but in the moment, on average, it's all first-year ice near enough. It's all about 80 centimeters thick. It is breaking up at an alarming speed, and then the feedback systems punch in, and you suddenly have an acceleration of change. How do you get the message across? What's causing this? And this is where the artists then start to come into play. Sunam Prasad is an architect. He was the president of RIBA, very renowned architect. And this was his project that he took up into the Arctic. There's a whole film sequence of this, but I'm just going to run it through you quickly. These are weather balloons. And if you basically can now imagine the cube that you're looking at there in this landscape, which was about minus 25 degrees centigrade. But that cube represents 1 ton by volume of carbon dioxide. And everybody in this room, most of the people who are from the UK, it's 10 tons per person, 11 tons if you're from the United States or Canada is 25 tons. It doesn't take much imagination to think that actually that whole valley that we're looking at would probably be filled by the output of 1 small town in the UK. So, the amount of carbon that we're pumping out into the atmosphere is quite astounding. And this is what the message is. From where the photographer stands, if you look at the far distant landscape, that is about 25 miles we measured. And if you take that same measurement, instead of looking that way, you look up that way, that's the thickness of the atmosphere. The atmosphere of this planet, which is unique, which is why we have life, is actually incredibly thin. So pumping out that kind of volume of carbon dioxide is just actually, it stands to reason that there's going to be a problem further down the line. So in a way, just a very, very simple way of kind of illustrating this. Next one, I'm going to, famously, Ian McEwan came up with this in 2005. And this is part of the film of him recording his impressions in 2005.
This wilderness we're in is so fragile.
If we regard these kinds of wildernesses at the poles as feathers that you hold up in a very slight breeze, they register so sensitively of what's happening right across the planet. If we do make an impact on slowing our release of global warming gases, carbon dioxide in particular, and protect these ends, these poles, then of course we also protect the middle too, everything in between as well. I have a vague sense that it's something I might write about. But the problem, if you're not a journalist, if it's not reportage, if you're looking for some way into this subject, you have to do it not, I think, in terms of landscape, you have to find the human angle. we've got ourselves in a situation where we are having to address the needs of people unborn, not our own children, maybe not even our children's children, but generations after that. Even the most idealistic of thinkers and actors on the world stage in the past have really addressed themselves to problems in the present. To bear the weight of the future in this way is both interesting and difficult, and runs probably counter to our nature. And so I was wondering if there was some way into this subject artistically that would look at it sympathetically from the point of view of that impulse in us that refuses to do this. Strange to say this, get on the polluter's side, as it were. I mean, that includes all of us. The consumer, the polluter, the despoiler. And we're all sort of weak and lazy and stupid in this respect.
Now, that was in 2005. Ian then spent 2 years trying to figure out how to make this into a novelistic form. And I think this, in a way, indicates that the struggle that of all the artists and creative sectors is how do you take a subject like this, like climate change, like our society wanting to shift, and actually craft it into something that actually has substance. You know, people like Ian and any of the people you're going to see today, you know, we know when we're faking it. You know, you can't manufacture something into a piece of art that just doesn't fit. It takes an incredibly difficult process of taking the subject matter and then trying to find and make a narrative out of it. And what has always surprised me, and in a way is the pleasure of actually running the project, is that artists come up with things that are just so unimaginable. I mean, Ian, you know, famously then announced, oh, he's found a way into it through some Nobel science, and comes up with the book Solar. You know, it's a great piece about writing, and it's also, you know, it's a way of engaging a huge world audience into something that's a very, very difficult subject. Now, somebody else, I'm going to introduce our first guest today. Lem Sissay, poet, again, struggle. How do you take this big subject? And I think you'll find out just by him reading and performing some of his poetry. So, Lem. Matt, can we just have the lights kept on the front here for Matt, not too bright on the back? That would be great. Lem Sissay.
Thank you.